Hi, my name is Hamet Watt, and welcome to Your Brain On. Today, it's Your Brain On Oral Health, and I'm here with my friend, colleague, and co-founder, Dr. Kenny Brown, to talk about a company that we started called Feno. Feno is a radically reimagined oral health device. I challenge anyone to think about whether there's any toothbrush or oral health device that's more advanced than this. But let's talk about the founding story. I read a study in 2019 published by Harvard that was speaking to the relationship between oral health and brain health. And as I peeled back the onion and started talking to smart doctors like Kenny, I realized that oral health was really the start of a whole lot happening in the body, the brain being the first thing. And so today, talking about Your Brain on Oral Health is really going to help us dig into that and talk about what we're getting ready for with Feno. Dr. Brown, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Okay, excited to hang as always.
Yeah.
Maybe we should just, go back in time and talk about, how we first met when I first came to you and said, how is oral health related to brain health? And, as we peeled back the onion, as I peeled back the onion, I learned a lot more largely from you about what that really meant.
Yeah, it's a great point. And I think it starts with the brain, but it's really the whole body, right? And I don't even know that I appreciated that going through dental school and in my studies. You kind of learn how the body's connected, but I feel like we haven't quite gotten there with the information. But when it became really apparent for me, it was like when I was working in the hospital. I would have patients who would go for a heart procedure, but then they needed to call the dentist first before the heart procedure for clearance, for basically permission to do a heart surgery. Like, what does a dentist need to do give you permission for? Right. And it, quite frankly, was because the bacteria and plaque buildup in the mouth of some of these patients threatens their heart procedure. So if I spend all this time and money and risk on, saving your heart and just for it to be disrupted by plaque,
crazy,
then, you can't do that. So I would take out teeth.
You yank out all their teeth.
All their teeth.
So they're walking in with the
just gumming it up.
Gummed out.
Gumming it up. It's sad because it's not really all of them were destroyed, but they had the gum disease.
What was it about it? Was it the risk of the plaques going into the bloodstream and doing something worse?
Yeah, so this is actually the way that it works. So the reason why it's so dangerous is because our mouth is very potent with blood vessels, right? So basically, the blood vessels are the highway to the rest of your body, from the tip of your head to the tip of your toes, right? And if you have bacteria, basically harmful bacteria in your gums, it's just got an entryway constantly.
It's crazy to me, and it was something that I thought at the age of, I'm not going to mention the age, but I thought I would have known that oral health is way more than just about aesthetics and looks. It really is the gateway. I just pulled some stats here. I'm going to read them out. So people that had gum disease declined memory 6 times faster just because they had gum disease. Which, by the way, how many people have gum disease?
Nearly 30% of the world.
30% of the world has gum disease. Okay, 37% increased risk of developing serious mental illness, anxiety, or depression. 37% of people with gum disease had a increased risk of developing serious mental. That's crazy. Okay, the other one is patients with severe gum disease had a 24% more increased likelihood of developing cancer. How is that?
Yeah, so again, if you have harmful bacteria that's constantly producing toxins that are just being delivered to your bloodstream, it causes cells to mutate. It causes you to have issues. We're not talking about just oral cancer here. We're talking about lung, prostate. We're talking about the serious cancers that are killing people every year.
Well, it's crazy. So the last one is there's a 2 to 3x increase in having a serious cardiovascular event with that. So that's the reason why these cardiologists wanted you to just pull everyone's teeth.
Exactly. And I'll actually add a little bit to a fact that we highlighted earlier. Nearly half of adults over 30 in the U.S. in the US, where you would think that the healthcare is the highest and, we got all the brushes that are available,
Right.
nearly half of adults over 30 have gum disease, some form of gum disease, right? And it's just, it's mind-boggling.
Well, it's crazy, all these statistics, and then there's this one last statistic that we found, not that we came up with, 2x increased likelihood of erectile dysfunction with gum disease.
Yeah, again, blood flow.
It stops there.
It's all about blood flow, right?
Blood flow.
Right? It's all about blood
We all
flow.
know we need blood.
Right, right.
So what stunned me so much as I started understanding from you about all these statistics is the lack of innovation in the oral health space. We can find a clip somewhere that shows a toothbrush in the 1500s. Guess what it looks like? Guess what it looks like? It looks like a fucking toothbrush.
Right.
Exactly like a toothbrush today. Basically, we wiggle it around a little bit, but it's basically the same thing. So the lack of innovation, despite the fact that there is serious health problems that come from this, is I think what motivated us to really move forward in this.
Right. And besides the lack of innovation, it's also that, hey, it's just not serving, right? It's like a tool that doesn't really work that well for people today. And we needed a better way, right? Because there's so much technique. Can you believe that, like, you have to have the right pressure, the right time, the right angle, and the right motion of brushing to be considered?
People are smart enough to do all those things.
Right. And if you're sleepy and you're like, your kids are yelling at you and things are happening, you're trying to get to work, like, how focused are you on that technique of brushing your teeth?
Well, I can't remember the stat, but what is the percentage of people actually brush their teeth properly twice a day?
Yeah, 30%.
30%.
So 70% of people are doing it wrong.
That's an F.
70% of people are not brushing their teeth correctly.
That's an F. Okay. So obviously we got very excited about the problem. I'll talk a little bit about what got me excited, but first just tell the folks what got you most excited as it relates to your personal mission and what that means to offering a new product to the market.
Yeah, my why is really scaling the care, right? I believe as a provider, we need to meet patients where they're at. Not everybody has the same access to care. Not everybody has the same education. Not everybody has the same, it's not a level playing field when it comes to healthcare. And really the way to create that, what we've been afforded is this amazing time, right, in the world to be alive, right, today, is in all the innovation out there happening, all the technology happening, we can really scale care, right? So, with Feno, we could talk about this later, but with Feno, I could put a dentist in every bathroom, right? Whether you are in a very rural area in the Dakotas or urban New York, we could put a dentist in your bathroom.
Yeah. And to think about some markets, some geographies that don't have access to care, it's a real problem to solve. And we know that it's not just about cosmetics, right? It's about health. For me, the why was very much about looking at innovation opportunities that are hiding in plain sight. Come on. The fact that a toothbrush in the 1500s resembles a toothbrush that we have now is crazy in and of itself. Right. We're doing a whole lot, right? Technology-wise. Yeah. And so the opportunity for us to really deploy some of the best approaches in innovation and technologies, as we'll talk about, to help us design using AI and other things, help us design a device that would really change the game. And you and I talk about this a lot, but really thinking exponentially and moving well beyond just basic innovation and basic incremental innovation and trying to do something much, much bigger than that is a huge driver, especially when you look around and not seeing a whole lot of other really interesting innovation.
Yeah, tell about the principle that you had. That it was so eye-opening for me. Basically, the mismatch of supply or demand, looking for a solution and then not being able to have that solution. Because that was one of the big check marks to say, hey, yeah, we should move forward with this company.
Yeah, so we try to use a lot of data, as you know, to try to figure out what kind of companies we want to start. And in this case, it was interesting because we weren't the only ones to think about a mouthguard form factor toothbrush. Right. There are a lot of shitty mouthguard form factor toothbrushes out there, not trying to talk bad about anyone, but it's fact. Right. And so when we started to look at the data and searches on Amazon and others, people are looking for an alternative to a traditional toothbrush. But we could not find any that had a review that was more than 2.5 stars. It was like a stark disparity between the demand and the execution of the teams out there doing it. So we realize, I think, that deploying really radical, innovative thoughts to this approach, and then being very disciplined around things like efficacy and testing, and working with folks like yourself that really understand the biology of all this and the science behind all this. From the folks we're working with at UCSD to the folks we're working with at University of Michigan to lots of other smart people, we approach this in a very humble way and assume we know nothing and try to get the smartest people to help us do this. Right. And I think that's been a really incredible part of our journey. I want to mention that we're going to be dropping Feno on Spree. We're happy to be on the Spree network and excited about what the opportunity to connect with people that are passionate about health, passionate about biohacking, passionate about longevity, passionate about the brain. And so we're really hoping that our early users will give us great feedback on the product. But I wonder if we could switch gears a little bit and talk about the product we've been working so hard on. When you reflect back, what's the thing that you're most proud of in terms of what we've accomplished? As a CEO of Feno, what is the thing that you're most excited about?
Yeah, I think the rigor in which we developed the product, we were not satisfied. We gave ourselves a report card, right? I learned that concept from you. And to give yourself a report card in which you truly judge yourself honestly, right? And say, do we pass the bar? Yes or no? If we can't, then we can't move on.
We didn't always pass.
And we didn't always pass. And it took another iteration. Yeah. And so I think that is what I'm most proud of, is that we committed ourselves to efficacy and something that would actually serve the end user. Yes. And that, to me, is the most powerful piece of our commitment as Feno, whether it be this product, whether it be what we have coming down the line in our product roadmap, whether it be the innovation that we come up with next year. Yes. We are committed to that.
Yeah, I think that's worth speaking to again. I think it's the opportunity that we saw initially to be innovative in this space means that we have to continually earn that trust with our users that we're going to continually innovate. Right, we're not going to stop like the guys in 1500s did. Right. We're going to keep going. Right. And so the roadmap I think that we have planned is exciting. We should talk about the product. Yeah. You want to give the honor?
Yeah. So here is the Feno Smartbrush. See that? The Feno Smartbrush is comprised of two main components.
It's sexy.
Yeah. Yeah. To say the least.
We should take people through our lab because, I think that the process we went through where we have people chew a plaque disclosing tablet, then we have them brush. And in our first iterations, the bristles weren't removing everything, right? And we could see that in the mouth. We fed that into an algorithm. Our algorithm starts to learn how to optimally configure these bristles so you can actually remove the plaque and hit the gum line at the same time, which you always drill on. Like, it's not only about coverage around the teeth, but also that gum line that makes such a big difference.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what you're seeing. Like, the angles of this mouthpiece are all specifically designed for your mouth to fit, to touch that gum line, to touch that tooth surface.
What size are you?
I am a 3B.
Okay. People were saying I had a big mouth.
You did.
Okay.
Yeah, you did. But that's it. No, you're like a 5B. 5B. So the other thing is, when you think about brushing, it was like comfort, right? Like, what's going to keep you coming back, right? Like, so we got to make sure that you can use this device over and over and over again. I talk about the scorecard that we had. You remember, we did 100,000 of these mouthpieces. 100,000 different versions of this mouthpiece to find the one that fits you, to find the one that brushes your teeth, to find the one that can do a better job than you can on your own in just 20 seconds.
Now explain that, because people are going to say 100,000 iterations. Like, so explain.
Yeah, so the algorithm designs a toothbrush every time we put a different parameter in, whether, hey, we need to touch this gum line, or we introduce a new mouth shape or size, then it needs to configure its new form. So we took a bunch of patients and a bunch of 3D scans to help us design this mouthpiece. So every time we introduce a new one, it would have to design a new mouthpiece. We test it, and we test it digitally first, and then the ones that pass a certain level of test, then we'd actually print it, 3D print it, bristle it, and then test it clinically, right? So it had to pass multiple levels of testing before.
And we'll show folks what that looks like. There's over 20,000 mouths, and the size of those mouths were fed into the algorithm so that the AI model could start to iterate, right? And once upon a time in doing this in hardware, you had to do this by hand. We had to do one and then try it, iterate again, another one, like a lot of times.
Right.
100,000 times obviously is not practical in the real world, but in this modern world we have, using the great tools and team that we have, we're able to do a whole lot more iterations. And I think that's how we got our scorecard the way we wanted it to be, right? If we hadn't had that, it might have taken a lot longer.
Right. The second component of this smart brush is the smart handle, right? So the handle has the motor, the battery in it. It has conductive charging. It has this nice screen here that will prompt you about your brushing cycle, what you need to do next. But the thing that we're most proud about is the scanner, right? The scanner is what allows you to get feedback about what's going on in your mouth, right? A lot of us don't go to the dentist every 6 months like they ask us to, right? Maybe it's 5 years, maybe it's 10 years, right?